Hi, Jay. What is the God's wisdom in incarnating the souls in that state? I mean, it's like we're incarnating souls into the nut house, basically.
A nut house created by
Us. But I have a problem with that because is it individual, like each soul is sort of individual, how is it itself in unconscious state responsible for the collective?
So now that question is motivated by an emotion.
It is.
Yeah. And the emotion is, I feel it's unjust.
I'm angry.
Yeah.
Unjust, yeah.
I feel it's unjust. Now, you see, the difference between you and I is I don't feel it's unjust. And God doesn't feel it's unjust either. So why do you feel it's unjust is a part of the question that needs to be answered, doesn't it? Now, so what you're basically saying is that because this poor human soul is coming to this crappy place, this terrible place, and let's feel sorry for that soul. Right? Now, we must first understand the purpose of God creating the process of incarnation, what the reason for incarnation is. You see, for you to become a self-aware being, of which this soul has the potential of doing, you have to have an experience. Now, what God did was God created a perfect world, a perfect earth, everything perfect, and two perfect humans, and put them there. And then he incarnated, he had the process, he actually involved himself in the incarnation of their souls to those two bodies that he created. He created two bodies, a spirit one for them and a physical one. He formed the first human couple, he formed directly, and he created the spirit body of each of them and the physical body of each of them. And the spirit body and the physical body were created absolutely perfect. No flaws. Right? So this first human couple came and they had no flaws, absolutely perfect. But notice that it didn't stop them from sinning. So that's an important thing to remember. Just because they had a perfect beginning, it didn't stop them from choosing sin.
So is it inevitable then? So if you create a creature with free will, is it inevitable for something like that to happen?
Yes.
So you have to then make it that way, and that's it. That's most economical. And
well, yeah, let's firstly look at the process. Is it inevitable? Yes, is the answer to that. Yes.
That's
Because sooner or later, that person, through the exercise of their will, is going to start to experiment with breaking laws. Right? Now, if they are sensitive emotionally, and they're sensitive sexually, and they're sensitive physically, and they're sensitive spiritually, they would recognise they're breaking law. But if they're in a state where they're quite undeveloped, which is what Amon and Aman were, because remember when they first came, they were like babies in adult body, right? So when they're in a state of being quite undeveloped, they're going to break law and maybe not be able to measure it. Right? Not instantly. Right? In the Bible, there is this quote in Genesis that once they sinned, they were barred from paradise, and it makes it seem like it was an instant reaction, right? But it wasn't. It was a gradual reaction, like all of our sins are on earth. There was a gradual reaction to our soul sinning, and in the process of a soul sinning, there's a gradual response around that occurs over time. And it requires a very sensitive and self-aware person to recognise that's actually occurring. So the first answer to the question, if we need to go right back to Amon Aman and say, yes, it was inevitable that one of humanity eventually would decide to sin and also decide to experiment with breaking the law. Right? That was inevitable. God knew it was inevitable. Right? So God put everything on there perfectly to give us the best possible chance of it not happening. But God also knew that it would most probably happen. And in fact, God created a whole series of laws to correct it happening as well. So God's laws, many of them are about the correction of the human soul to bring it back to a state of perfection. But also God knows that in the exercise of your will, in other words, your choice and decision, has to be yours, not his. He can't force you. If he gives you free will, he can't ever at any point force you to make a different decision. The decision has to be your decision, right? So he also knew that even though he's created all these laws to redeem humans, it had to be your decision for your own redemption, right? And he also knew that the decision for your redemption was going to be at a different time and space, made to my decision for my redemption. I had to make my own decision. You have to make yours.